join us on the show right now. I'm very pleased to have with us Texas State Senator Jeff Wentworth. Senator, thank you so much for your time tonight.
I'm happy to be there.
Well, listen, it is great having you back on the program. Congratulations on getting the campus carry legislation out of the Texas State Senate.
Well, I'm delighted to do it again. We, as you know, passed a bill very, very much like this 2 years ago, went to the House of Representatives, and would have passed the House had the time not run out at the end of the session on another bill. The House would have, I'm certain, have passed it 2 years ago. We meet in Texas only every other year, so I had to wait until 2011 after the 2009 session to try again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you were able to attach this to another higher ed bill, right?
Correct.
Okay, and the vote to attach this 21-10.
Correct.
The final vote for the legislation was 19-12.
Right.
So what happens to the bill now? I mean, obviously it goes over to the House side, but does this have to go through the calendars committee and everything else on the House side?
Yes, just like any other legislation, it goes to a substantive committee. Fortunately, it's an important bill that really does need to pass.
Okay.
So it'll go to committee. A committee will vote it out. It goes to calendars. Calendars schedules it for vote by the full House, and then the full House votes it. Fortunately, we've got something like, I think last count, somewhere around 85 co-sponsors in the House, and there are only 150 members of the House.
Wow.
So I don't think there'll be any successful attempt to peel that amendment off the bill.
Yeah, yeah. So what have you been hearing from your constituents, Senator, since the bill passed?
Yeah, it's a combination. I had a long conversation with one woman this afternoon who was candidly not rational in my judgment with her opposition. The objection she had just don't hold water. A lot of the arguments that are being raised now are very eerily similar to the same arguments that were made 15 years ago when we first passed the concealed carry bill in Texas. The arguments were, oh, my God, we'll be going back to the wild, wild west. If we pass this bill, there'll be blood in the streets. There'll be shootouts at four-way stop sign intersections, all sorts of scary predictions. Well, we listened to that, but we passed the bill anyway. The governor signed it. It became the law of the land. And here we are 15 years later, and none of those scary predictions have come true. There's not blood in the streets. There are not shootouts at four-way stop signs. Mm-hmm. In fact, the crime has reduced in Texas over the last 15 years.
You bet.
And some law enforcement, they don't attribute the whole reduction to this one bill, but they say it has to be factored in as part of the reason we've had a reduction in crime, because for the first time, the bad guys are not sure which ones of the good guys are actually packing. So that's helpful.
Absolutely. And again, I know that there have been a number of studies done, and it's difficult to be able to say with great precision, how big a reduction in crime you're going to see when you introduce a shall issue law. I think it depends on what the law looks like. I think it depends on the individual state, but you go back to 1987 in the United States, which is when Florida passed their shall issue bill, and really that was kind of the start of the shall issue a revolution. And in the United States, in 87, the violent crime rate was 609.7 violent crimes per 100,000 people. The homicide rate was 8.3. Now the crime rate is down to 429.4. The homicide rate is down to 5.0 across the United States. Clearly, the addition of these right to carry laws has not made the United States a more dangerous, more violent place.
You bet. And that's part of the argument this woman was making, that by passing this bill, we were going to make college campuses in Texas less safe. And I said, if that were the case, we would see Utah campuses or Colorado State University campus less safe. And in fact, it's the reverse.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Look, there is no shortage of hyperbole. In fact, I was looking at an article from the Atlantic Monthly online earlier today. The reporter, Alex Hannaford, says if the bill in Texas becomes law, some professors there have said they plan to include a clause in their syllabi stipulating that students are not to be permitted to carry guns into their classrooms and then simply refuse to teach classes where students don't assent. Well, I mean, what's your response when you hear that, Senator? That you've got professors who are saying, we'll basically walk out if we have to put up with a campus carry.
Well, let me tell you what a colleague said after my bill was heard in the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. We had 3 university professors. All 3 happened to have come from the University of Texas at Austin, simply because that's the closest college campus to the state capitol building.
Yeah.
The 3 were all there to testify against my bill, and my colleague, who wound up voting for the bill in committee, said, the professors didn't really persuade me, but for one thing, and that is that we probably need to abolish tenure.
So is that your next piece of legislation, Senator?
Oh, probably not. No.
All right, let me give you another reaction from online. This is from the blog Instapundit. Kenneth Anderson, who is guest posting there, says, as to campus carry, I am torn. My beloved daughter is about to go off to college in Texas, and she's interested in firearms training. I'm a strong supporter of gun rights, and I also think that urban kids like my daughter, who has shot a gun once in her life at the age of 12 and does not come from a gun culture, needs a lot of real, honest-to-goodness training in safety and shooting, and how one behaves in situations of self-defense with guns. That's a lot more than some online gun course. Here's your license. I want her to be able to carry, but I want her knowledge and training to be real. I guess my statement to him, Senator, would be, why do you think your daughter wouldn't get that training until she's comfortable before she becomes a concealed carry holder?
Well, I don't know what he's talking about, online training. Maybe some states do that, but we don't do that in Texas. In Texas, you go through a 10-hour course. It's in-person instruction, and then you go out to a firing range, and you have to pass both a written exam and a firing range exam before your criminal background check and the photographs and the fingerprints and the $140 fee. That's why 1.8% of Texans have concealed carry licenses. It's a bit of a trouble, a bit of trouble to go through to get this license. So you're not going to see, as some people have predicted, this mass of gun carrying students. And the other thing, I'm not certain about other states, but in Texas you've got to be 21 in order to have a concealed carry license.
Right.
If you're a traditional high school student who graduates at 17 or 18 years of age, the first 3 years at least of your undergraduate experience, you're not going to be eligible even to apply for one. This bill is designed and aimed at professors, staff members, graduate students, parents of undergraduate students. It's not designed to arm campus student bodies.
No, I think you're going to be spending a lot of time correcting the record, Senator. There are a lot of misconceptions out there, and frankly, the opponents of this legislation, they're not interested in making sure people understand what this is all about. In fact, one of the things I expect that we'll start seeing is a real push to say that this legislation is going to lead to, as you say, a more violent campus. Now, I noted on last night's program that the University of Texas sent out a safety alert early last Thursday morning after 2 men robbed a student at gunpoint. Supposedly, this shouldn't be happening, Senator, because the University of Texas right now is a gun-free zone. So I don't know how those armed robbers got on campus with a firearm and were able to rob these students at gunpoint.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I made a Xerox copy of the news account in the Austin American-Statesman and passed that out to every member of the Senate because we'd had testimony both in committee and on the floor about how safe college campuses are.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, here's a campus just a few blocks north of the state capitol building, and a student was robbed at gunpoint on the campus. I'm not talking about nearby or close to the campus.
Right.
On the campus. So it's just another example of the falsity of the arguments that have been made, I think, in opposition to this bill.
Yeah. All right. So another argument here in opposition. Rodney Ellis, state senator, talking to the Houston Chronicle, said, quote, when there is an alcohol-related tragedy on campus, you don't hear claims that giving students a 12-pack is the solution. Yet when it comes to gun-related incidents, we seem to think that putting more guns in the mix will lead to a good rather than a bloody outcome. What's your response to Senator Ellis?
Rodney's a good friend of mine personally, but Rodney, that's a bad analogy in my opinion. I'll tell you a funny thing, though. There was another bill on the floor the same day as mine. Yesterday, there was a standalone bill that would allow statewide elected officials, members of the legislature, some former members of the legislature, to carry their concealed handgun in places where regular Texas citizens are not allowed to do so. In bars, in athletic events, some other. There seemed like there were 3 venues. I voted no on that because I don't think we should be voting ourselves special privileges. I shouldn't have any greater right to carry my weapon. And by the way, I'm not currently a licensee. I'm in the process of becoming one.
Okay.
But I shouldn't have a special. It seems to me a special privilege to do that. That bill passed anyway. It was a vote of 25-6, and the 6 no votes were Rodney Ellis and me, and 4 others, two Republicans and 2 Democrats. The 3 Democrats that opposed it are anti-gun, I think it would be fair to say. The 3 Republicans who voted no voted because we felt like every citizen should be able to carry their concealed weapon in the same places, and that legislators shouldn't have special privileges.
All right. Well, Senator, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on the program tonight. And now that the bill is over on the House side, look forward to talking to you as it makes its way to Governor Perry's desk and hopefully is signed into law.
Well, he announced 2 years ago that if we got this bill to his desk, he'd sign it, and he hadn't changed his mind. And the good news is all of this will be over in about 18, 19 days from right now.
All right. Well, Senator, thank you again, sir. I look forward to talking to you here in 18 or 19 days.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Texas State Senator Jeff Wentworth joining us here on the program.